I'm not a big fan of him.
Not a big fan.
I'm not.
Kevin.
All he does is screw us over, man. He's like, not here again.
Yeah.
Is that him?
You mother.
Fuck it.
Come here, Kevin.
Kevin, dude, where you been?
Hey. Ooh la la, ah wee wee. Hey. Ooh la la, ah wee wee. Let's go. Ooh la la, ah wee wee. Ooh la la, ah wee wee. Ooh la la, ah wee wee. Ooh la la.
Hey everybody, I'm JT. This is Lee.
What's up, Charlotte?
We're back here, Studio A, aka my garage, South Charlotte.
Yep.
We just shot episode 8. Our producer Kevin set up the video a little bit different. Had the Zoom on the computer, but then had a soccer game in the background. You know, we had to watch that, and things might not have worked out exactly as I wanted. So Kevin and I are going to have a talk later on.
Kevin.
But nonetheless, we had a great interview with a legend in U.S. soccer, Mr. Alexi Lalas. Was so gracious because Lee did the work to get this man on. How did that happen, Lee? Tell me how we got Alexi Lalas to talk to us in the garage this morning.
We can thank Twitter for that.
Yes.
So, you know, Alexi does his daily show, come one, come all, or don't come at all.
Plug right here.
Yes, Alexi.
Plug.
And, you know, started talking back and forth, and eventually we were able to get him on. So here we are, episode 8 for CLTFCFANTV. Catch us
For
on
the
all
fans, by the fans.
That is right. Catch us on all the social, YouTube, Twitter, Insta, Facebook. Yes, so go like our page on Facebook. Subscribe to us. Yeah. Subscribe to us on YouTube.
Like, Alexi gave us such good info on MLS, basically.
Yeah,
I think he had the most insight as he would. He'd played on 3 teams. He'd been in the front office of the LA Galaxy, and just he's just a great guy to talk to, and really had some good things to say. So
yeah,
this one's going to be longer, much longer, almost like a podcast form maybe than ones we've done in the past, because I really wanted to show and for you to hear everything he had to say. I'll make cuts where I can make cuts, but at the same time, we're just going to do a longer version of our CLTFC Fan TV for the fans, by the fans, and I hope you enjoy it. And I hope Kevin enjoys the game watching with Tepper right now.
We need to let him go,
DT,
man.
at some point, we're going to
Yeah,
get
DT,
on.
just try again, man. This is our fault this time. Kevin
Yeah.
apparently fell through.
Damn it.
We need to get rid of him, man.
I know, but he's got that contract, and it's like rock solid. What you got on in the background?
What game is that?
This is the Bayern Munich game going on in the background. The Tottenham Manchester Tottenham one's pretty much over right now.
It's brilliant. We're watching it right now. Come on, you Spurs. First off, man, we got to talk about this, right? That tattoo rant. You know, do you get any stick for that from your fellow soccer players there from the men's team?
Yeah, that was, gosh, now I think about it. I mean, we're in incredible days, and we mentioned a little earlier that, you know, we got different games going on, and we're watching American players play at some of the great clubs in the world, and with immense pride and excitement and joy.
Yeah.
And it's the irony is that we are coming off of the darkest period pretty much when it comes to the U.S. men's national team.
Right.
And by the way, it permeated through a lot of other soccer stuff. So it wasn't just men's soccer. Thankfully, the women, you know, came along and tried to balance it out. But still, not qualifying for the 2018 World Cup was horrible. And you know, my responsibility as in my job with Fox and then anybody I'm working with in television is to, you know, go on air and just say stuff that hopefully is entertaining and interesting.
Right.
And I'm responsible for saying stuff where, how I say stuff is as important as what I say, and the performance aspect of it, I don't shy away from that. It's something that I actually love about the job that I have, is that it enables me to stay in the game, but also to be able to perform and to be able to express my opinion. And, as we said, some people agree, some people disagree. That's okay. But I love it. And so that, that was just a night where I was feeling, some of the frustration and the anticipation that this was not necessarily going right, because this is before they hadn't qualified.
Right.
And I guess it was just the old grumpy guy in me wanting to, in a very graphic type of way, explain to the players and to this team that it can get away from you, and to kind of buckle down.
Yeah.
Obviously, it didn't work out that way. And the way that I expressed it obviously ruffled some feathers out there, but it was something that was from the heart. I don't regret it. Was it pointed? Yes. If I had to do it over again, would I change some words here or there? Maybe not. I mean, you let the chips fall where they may.
I thought it was brilliant.
It was from a good place.
Yeah.
I want the team to do well. I want the players to do well. I want us to win a men's World Cup.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what I want, and that or anything that I do, that's the place that it comes. It doesn't mean you can't be critical. It doesn't mean that you can't, in your performance, even times be harsh. By the way, it also doesn't mean that you can't be wrong.
Gobble, gobble.
Grew up in Michigan. I grew up right outside of Detroit, suburb of Detroit, and I grew up playing hockey and soccer, and I really kind of gravitated eventually to soccer, and felt that that was something that I wanted to do in college, and was going to hopefully help me get into some colleges. I got rejected at all sorts of places, and Rutgers was on the bottom of the stack, and the only reason I knew about it was because I had read. Back in the day, before you guys were around, there was a magazine called Soccer America. It was an actual magazine, and we would read it, and it was like the Bible for soccer. And I had read a story about Rutgers University, and Peter Vermes actually at the time was the star there. So I knew they had a good program. I had never been to New Jersey, let alone to Exit 9 off the Turnpike. My dad drove me the 16 hours out to meet the coach. And he said, look, I don't know who you are, but I can invite you to preseason, and I can get you into the agriculture school. And since I had nothing else, that was the best thing going. I said, sign me up. Now, I grew up in Michigan, but I sure as hell didn't grow up on a farm.
Right.
And so I spent 2 years actually taking some different courses, including beef and sheep production. My bovine and ovine background is stellar.
Nice.
So were you always a defender, or did you just kind of fall into that?
No, so on that day when I met the coach and he invited me to preseason and said he could get me into the agriculture school, he said, listen, we're going through a kind of a rebuilding year, and we're looking for defenders. Have you played in the back? I said, yeah, of course I played in the back. Completely lied my ass off. And I had only played up front and kind of freeformed it for most of my young playing career there.
Right.
And so, fake it till you make it. And I was playing in a much more traditional type of sweeper position.
Right.
And when I got to Rutgers, I didn't say a word to anybody for about a month. And I scared the living crap out of most of my teammates who most of them were from New Jersey. I mean, like I said, it's a state school. So I was basically from the other side of the earth to them. That's what Michigan or the Midwest, for example, represented to them. So, I was this crazy Midwestern guy with a bunch of hair that just kicked anything that moved.
Right.
And that was my tactical awareness when it came to how to defend. But
C-ball, kickball. It's just
Yeah, and back then you could crush people, and basically the worst thing you were going to get is a yellow card, and you could get a yellow card every single game. So the accumulation wasn't there. So I knew that I had one free hit on a player during the game. But I had a bunch of them that I could get, that I could hit them.
Yeah.
And by the way, from behind, stuff that would never ever fly in today's game. You just crush somebody from behind, and it was a foul. And if you really, really got into them, then it might be a yellow card. And I knew I could get one every single game. So it was a much more brutal type of soccer back then.
Gobble, gobble.
94, I think, was the World Cup, right? Where you kind of made your mark on the scene, if you will. To me, you were like that American, right? Being English, right? You kind of represented America at that time, at least, right? You were patriotic, it seemed like, and you still are with the flag, right? And you just had that cockiness about you, right? And
flowing cockiness.
Yeah,
it was like
cockiness.
with because I'm 6'3" too, and with a frame like that and that size and that hair, and yeah, USA, go USA. That was a beautiful thing.
So I feel like that.
Yeah. Great summer. A great summer. Changed my life forever. I say all the time that, one of the reasons why I'm talking to you today is because of that summer. I lived the power of what a World Cup can do to an individual.
Yeah.
And the way that the team played, the way that I played, the way that I looked, that whole persona, all that kind of stuff. It was a wonderful platform. Timing is a huge part of life, and recognizing opportunities. And I milked it for all it was worth on and off the field. I had a blast.
Right.
Obviously, I parlayed it into going over to Europe and playing in Italy at the time.
Right.
What a lot of people don't remember or realize is that when I stepped on the field in the summer of 1994, like a bunch of other players, Kobe Jones, for example, we had never actually been on the books at any club, in any club type of scenario. And that's kind of backwards in the way that people normally do it, where they do well at a club and then they are seen and they go to the national team and then they do well with the national team, and it's based off of their club success.
Right.
So we were running around the field, and all of my experience was the international game. It wasn't until after the World Cup when I went to Italy that I actually showed up and was on the books of an actual club and living that day-to-day type of existence. But that was just a function of the world that we lived in. We trained for 2 years in Mission Viejo, California as the national team, which is why when you look at my generation, we have so many caps, international appearances out there. And it was what we needed to do because we didn't have MLS. We didn't have, certainly it's night and day with what the existence is now. And it makes me incredibly proud. It doesn't seem like that long ago to me, but how far we've come as a soccer playing nation warms the cockles of my redheaded hair.
I love the idea of the tent metaphor. And one thing that I'm very interested in here in Charlotte, and we are going to be partly responsible for, is developing our culture and building that tent in front of Bank of America Stadium with, our crest on it, and how to get people interested in the MLS and knowing that we're the 30th team. And we've got David Tepper, definitely one of the wealthiest owners who has the resources and the true passion. He loves it, and to put into it. And then you got Panthers sharing and all that kind of. So what do you think? And you being around the MLS long enough, what's the sell? What do I tell a friend of mine who doesn't have much interest, or just like many of us played soccer growing up as kids or whatever, but you get to college, it's all football, basketball, and then it's NFL, whatever, NBA. What's the sell? What kind of tent do we need to build to help coerce people inside of it?
Sure. So a couple of things, and you're right to be thinking about these things and thinking about them now, because I know it got pushed back a little bit, but it's still going to come quick, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing because you'll be able to kind of see the fruits of your labors. So number one, it's a lifestyle. It really is, and you guys know. The people that are in American soccer, the way that we look at ourselves, the way that we look at others, the way that you dress, the way that you talk, the way that you act, the prism that you view the world in, the way that you look locally, the way that you look globally, all of that is impacted and affected by the game of soccer. And that makes it very different and unique than a lot of the other sports that we have in the United States that are primarily, for lack of a better word, American and have a tradition of being American sports. And one of the things that I think this generation, maybe more so than others, kind of does is, like I said, think globally but act locally. Well, when you're thinking globally, what are some threads that bind us? Well, one of them is soccer.
Right.
And one of the cool things, even when I was growing up back in the 1900s, when I would walk out to the sidewalk and juggle my ball, the cool thing that I knew as a 10-year-old in the suburbs of Detroit juggling on my sidewalk, that on the complete opposite side of the world, there was a 10-year-old doing the exact same thing. And we might come from completely different backgrounds. We might not be able to relate, honestly, on anything. But when it came to soccer, we could. And I think that's a real attraction to the game. Now, that's a big overall type of picture. Now, when it comes to locally, what do you want to represent? Well, I would assume, because this is what's happened in a lot of these MLS places, is that you want to represent Charlotte and the people of Charlotte. Right. Now, you guys know it a whole lot better than I do, but there is an ethos, I would think. There is obviously a history, and there is a personality and character, and I can't define it. You guys are going to have to define it, and it might change as you go forward. But ultimately, that's where the personalization comes in that I'm a soccer fan, and that's kind of how I view the world. But I'm a Charlotte soccer fan,
Yes.
and that's important. That's really, really important. The other part is, and you mentioned your ownership, is what kind of MLS team do you want? And this gets much more into like the competitive side of it, because the games will come and go, the wins, the losses, all that kind of stuff. That will come and go. And this is a league that is very forgiving in that you can be horrible one year, and the mechanism is there to be very, very good the next year. However, what we've seen for a lot of these teams is almost a soft launch type of approach. Now, I don't know what your ownership or what you are going to expect and what those ambitions are ultimately, and you're going to have to decide. Are you going to behave like a small market team? Are you going to be a small market team but behave like a big market team?
Yeah.
Are you going to kind of accept the fact that you can't be somebody else and champion the fact that you are not that person? I will say this. It's a little harder to cry poor or to frame yourself as the little engine that could in a league like MLS, where you have that manufactured parity, where you do have a salary cap. Now there are haves and have-nots, and we've certainly seen that money does lead to success. I mean, you look at who's won MLS Cup and the amount of money that they've spent. But after all of that is gone, it's the relationships, it's the passion, it's the unique aspect. Whether it's the songs that you sing or the unique way that you celebrate. You talked about that tent, that literal tent outside the stadium, right?
Yeah.
How is it different? Is it different? You get an advantage to kind of look at what's happened and kind of pick the best and leave the worst out there, and that'll be really, really important going forward. I find it amazing how these teams are constructed and how that fan base grows and morphs and changes and comes to, in so many different ways, represent what do you call them? Is it charlatan? What do you call it? Charlatans?
Charlatan, not charlatans. I used to always pull that joke. No, charlatans is what they call me. Charlie here.
Charlatans.
Yes.
All right. Well, you got to come to represent what the charlatans, everything that is as people and as a community.
It involves tailgating for soccer games. It involves biscuits. It involves sweet tea. There'll be some other. Well, everyone's got a good brewery now, so barbecue.
Gobble gobble.
I went to Nashville to watch Atlanta-Nashville. It was one of the last games before all hell broke loose. And I met with the Atlanta folks there because they were having a big party. And I asked them about the rivalry between them and Nashville. And almost to a man or woman, they all said, "Look, this is great, and we're having a good time and all that kind of stuff. But it's Charlotte.
Screw Atlanta.
And it hadn't clicked with me how important that is.
Oh yeah.
And fostering that type of stuff is going to be. This is all good. You'll have plenty of rivalries and all that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you what, they're salivating waiting for you.
We can't wait either. And Tampa called it out when they announced the name, right?
He actually mentioned Atlanta and called out their fans and screw that city. I really am stoked about the idea of building a culture and figuring out, and again, you can't just say, our chant's going to be this or this is going to be this. No, that's just going to come organically through the fans and however it works out. But yeah, I am so looking forward to tailgating and just bringing, and I feel too, being a soccer fan internationally, like I want to bring this and show this off to other people. I love the idea that this is something brand new that can be molded and it's ours. And to your point, it's ours as charlatans to figure out and define what it's going to be. So yeah.
And there's like three pots that I look at, right? So you got the diehards, and you're obviously that pot, and the ones that are already on board, 100%, we're doing it, right? And you're going to get those, and those are going to be some of your messengers and your leaders out there. Right. So having that messaging and that understanding and the open arms type of approach is going to be huge. Then you have that second pot where, look, it's not as if Charlotte's never seen soccer. It's not as if it's all of a sudden, oh my God, what's this game? You don't get to use your hands. As you guys know, there's a long history when it comes to soccer, and therefore there are soccer people there. But I would imagine that it's also kind of disparate right now, and you have to get all of those soccer people together. and all of them to recognize that this is something that soccer people can all get together with, and sports people out there. And then you have the ones that just haven't been into soccer. And what's been interesting to see is, for example, in Atlanta or other places, that there are people that either haven't been into soccer and have gotten into it, or still aren't even that into soccer, okay? But it's their team, and the colors and the branding and all of that kind of stuff, if it's cool, and I do believe it's cool, it becomes a source of pride and honor that this is our team. And I might not even know anything about soccer, but this is our soccer team. And it represents who I am because I'm from Charlotte, and it does it in a way that's unique and different. So that's that third pot. And I think there will be a lot of people that are going to taste test and say, well, what is this all about? And I've heard a lot about this stuff, and everybody's going crazy. And that's where you got to get them. You got to make sure that their experiences are good. People ask me, do you ever get tired of explaining the rules? No. If somebody wants to know the rules, or I'll sit and I'll explain offside, or I'll explain throwing or anything like that. That to me is a form of respect. I don't care that you don't know anything. We'll figure it out together, and we'll sit around. The ones that don't think it's worth their time, or coming at it with an arrogant type of approach, that's the ones that I have a problem with. And let's be honest, eventually those ones will die off. The ones that recognize that this is something that is going. This is something that's going to embrace me, and this is going to be something that is going to be made easy for me to become a part of. And that's really, I think, what you guys have, and the challenge that everybody has there is to make this as accessible as possible and hospitable as possible in a way, because you guys have plenty of sports over there that traditional sports haven't done. And that's the unique challenge over there. But I think soccer lends itself to doing that.
Gobble, gobble.
So how do we keep that new feeling of we got the fans here, we got them in the stadium?
It's like the new car smell.
Yeah.
How do you keep that new car smell as long as you can?
Right?
Yeah. You don't. As anybody that's owned a car before or a new car before understands that eventually it goes away. For example, last night I was working on Fox and we were doing the Orlando game. Now this is, if you want to look at a team that has a history of futility, they're in their 6th year and they still haven't made the playoffs. Things are going well for them this year, and so they're kind of in this rarefied air right now.
Right.
But that's 5 years, okay? And look, they came on like gangbusters in terms of the crowds that they had. The purple that was all over the city, and they've been able to maintain it. But you can start to erode that if you're not giving people a quality of product. And while I just talked about some people that may not know a whole lot about soccer, there's a whole lot more that do know. Certainly when it comes to supporting a team, understanding of what MLS is and what MLS isn't, and we've seen time, just because somebody has been successful or just because somebody's a big name somewhere else doesn't mean that it applies to Major League Soccer. Major League Soccer is an animal, the likes of which a lot of people have never experienced. And we see it when players come over and they're playing in a league of parity. I mean, look, Gonzalo Higuain right now, okay? Right. For the most part, for 99% of his career, he's played at the best clubs, okay, or the halves of the leagues that he's playing in.
Right. And
now he's playing for Inter. I mean, it is a mental and physical transition to make. The restrictions that you have, the rules and regulations that at times I know can be complex. You need to have people that understand and have a history and an understanding of what this league is. It doesn't mean that you can't come in and learn it. Very, very smart people have come in and haven't missed a beat and been able to do that and have used the other part of it too. But I think what we've seen, especially over the last couple of years, are people thinking that you can just come in and you can either wing it, or you've got that special key that nobody else has been able to discover over the last 25 years that's going to be able to unlock MLS. And I'm telling you right now, you don't. And by the way, the people that have been here for 25 years, they don't have it either.
Well, there is a special key, because that's breaking news. There is a special key somewhere.
Breaking news.
We're talking about the competitive side of the game and winning and losing and all that kind of stuff. And when all is said and done, all of that is going to go out the window. Yes, you will have moments, but it'll be, remember when we won that game? It'll be, we won that game, but remember when we won that game and we took that road trip, or we had that moment, or we had that beer, or you did that moronic thing or whatever it ends up being. And those are the good things. And I look back at my career and my life, and I don't regret things, but I do maybe wish at times that I had been able to stop and appreciate all the things that I had at the time. And it's just the arrogance of youth, and it's kind of the way of the world now. But so take a moment, whether it's the first game, take a deep breath, take a look around, be proud of what it's going to be proud of what it can be and is going to be. Take in that moment all the sights, all the sounds, whether it's the relationships that you have, the friendships that are going to form, those moments that you're going to have, singing, being with people, whether it's during the game in that 90 minutes or the way that it's going to impact your life in that other 22 and a half hours of the day. All of those things are important. So, I know that's big picture type of stuff, but those are the things that I think about now in my 50s.
So, Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo. I always fall on the Ronaldo side when I'm asked this question. I'm asked this question a lot, and I'll tell you why. As I say each and every time, look, you're fine either way, but I fall on the Ronaldo side because he has done it at multiple places.
Yes.
And look, Messi was, almost born, but he was incubated in this incredible cocoon that is La Masia and then Barcelona.
Right.
And that's all he has done, all right? Who knows what happens in the future, but that's all that he has done. It has been constructed from the very beginning to make him feel warm and safe and get the best out of what is arguably the greatest player ever to play the game.
Right.
Cristiano Ronaldo has done it in a bunch of different places. And I think that there is an added skill and ability to be able to do that. And so that's where he edges, for me, that's where he edges Messi. I don't think that Beckham has ever been the best player on a team that he has played for. Even with the Galaxy, Landon Donovan was a better player.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother subject. We can hit that next time.
We'll hit that next time.
About the big fallout there. But
again, thank you so much for your time and your sage advice, and keep on rocking in the free world.
There we go. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I'll promise you I'll be kinder on Twitter.
Oh, don't worry about it.
That's all him. I do the video stuff. He does all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It is. It all. Stay safe. Stay sane.
Yes, you too. My best to your families, and have a great weekend.
You as well.
This too shall pass.
That's right.
Yes, this too shall pass.
CLTFCFANTV. Catch us on all the
fans, by the fans.
That is right. Catch us on all the social, YouTube, Twitter, Insta, Facebook. Yes, so go like our page on Facebook. Subscribe to us. Subscribe to us on YouTube.
Gobble, gobble.